Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Kirk from Flicks Media. I just wanted to cover the meat and potatoes of Season 2 real quick. There's a lot of great stuff in the middle of Season 2, but considering that a lot of it doesn't go anywhere in the grand scheme of Twin Peaks, it's not entirely necessary. So anyway, I just wanted to recap, kind of go over what I skipped. So one of the bigger things that takes the longest to kind of come around is Ben Horne goes on this really weird Confederate Army Civil War like midlife crisis thing, and this carries pretty much throughout the second season. And then he gets this, if I'm not mistaken, it's Billy Zane that helps him like come out of it, and then Billy Zane kind of helps him become better, and helps him be a better person all around. To start listening to his conscience more. He's pretty much his Jiminy Cricket. That's pretty much everything with Ben Horne you need to know from season 2. And then as soon as he starts being better, he stops smoking cigars. He starts eating carrots instead of smoking cigars. Is against the Ghostwood development and all that good stuff. So he's more in touch with the sensibilities of the people. So he is definitely trying to be a better person. Josie Packard dies. She was the love interest of Harry Truman and one of the bigger players of Twin Peaks. And then it's in this really weird sequence, Bob sends Josie's soul into a drawer knob on a dresser in the Great Northern. So it's speculated, because there's stuff that comes back in the return that almost references that. It's speculated that Josie has entered the Great Northern, the big hotel that Ben Horne owns. It's debatable whether or not she's alive or if her soul was just kind of trapped there. But yeah, so it's a widespread, like, theorized thing about Twin Peaks is what the hell happened to Josie. So then, yeah, Wyndham Earle shows up, an old partner of Coop's and now a nemesis of Coop's. Some background on that: Cooper fell in love with Wyndham Earle's wife, and when they had a love affair, Wyndham Earle went mad and he murdered the wife who was cheating with Cooper, and pretty much just like swore hatred for Cooper from that point on. Oh yeah, Nadine comes out of her coma and completely changed, thinking that she is back in high school and that she's a cheerleader, and she has some insane amount of energy and strength that has arrived since she came out of her coma. So then she falls in love with Mike, who's Bobby's friend, and somehow Mike is really into it and he loves it, so whatever. And then at one point, Leland is revealed to be Laura's killer and the host to Bob. And so because of this, I'm wondering if that dispels my whole theory about the white hair Leland being a tulpa. But again, there are no like clear-cut answers in Twin Peaks, so you just kind of have to figure it out for yourself. But yeah, overall, season 2 is good. There's more episodes, so there's more chances for success or failure. But to me, season 2 falls flat just because of how the writers got lost with James and how pointless that all becomes. Yeah, I mean, that's the meat and potatoes. There's a really cool bit where Ted Raimi, brother of Sam Raimi, creator of Evil Dead, shows up as a weird, like, biker rock kid that Wyndham Earle takes advantage of and uses literally as a pawn. So that's pretty dark and cool, like, Evil Dead connection there. There's another Evil Dead connection in The Return. The cinematographer for The Return, the whole show, all 18 parts, is a guy by the name of Peter Deming, who was the cinematographer for Evil Dead 2. I only know that because I have looked extensively for Evil Dead and Twin Peaks connections because I love them both so much. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna get into the end of season 2, and then next week we're gonna be talking about Fire Walk with Me. I was going to do Fire Walk with Me and then start the return, but I'm just gonna save the return for the 4th week, and we're probably gonna end up doing maybe 4 or 5 videos for the last week. So but yeah, so stay tuned. We're on to the end of season 2, and then yeah, we'll be halfway done with SeptemPeaks 2021. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me this far. It means a lot. The videos haven't been performing like insanely, but that's to be expected. It's a very niche show. But if you guys know anyone that digs Twin Peaks or likes David Lynch or likes abstract film, please send them to SeptemPeaks. Please send them my way, and I would love to talk about anything David Lynch. And yeah, so, and then this October I've been pushing it really hard, but I want you guys to know we'll be doing Horror Fest. We'll be doing 10 to 12 movies. The schedule keeps kind of changing for that, but we've already recorded a few episodes for that, so that's going to be really exciting. So stay tuned. Please come back. Here we are, guys. We're doing week 2 of SeptemPeaks, wrapping it up. How's everybody doing? So we're just going to jump right into it. I watched episodes 21 and 22 to close out season 2. Leo and Major Briggs are trapped by Wyndham Earl, and Leo sets Major Briggs free, saying save Shelley, because this is after Earl has revealed to them that he's targeting some of the young women of Twin Peaks in a plot of his. Earl returns, and then he introduces a new game, and this is where Earl reveals this weird white face and black teeth look that he has. So that is another instance to me that kind of gives me a clue of like, is that also a tulpa like the Leland thing I was talking about? I don't know. Annie and Shelley talk beauty pageant with Norma at the Double R Diner. And then Ben Horn, after having turned a new leaf, is informing Audrey about how much he values her, and then talking to her about these religious, like, philosophical books he's been reading. He tells her that time will heal all wounds, as in having Billy Zane come and change their lives forever and then leave. And Audrey's really sad about that. This is where Audrey gets a little more serious and like business. She starts talking about her Seattle trip to her dad. Yeah, this is where we see Ben Horn has changed his mind about Ghostwood, so now he's against it rather than being like the pushing force behind it. Truman and Cooper talk about Wyndham Earl and Josie's death. And then they connect Josie's death, Bob, and the Black Lodge just through deduction. And then Earl posits that evil spirits are attracted to fear, which is kind of a Stephen King idea. If you go back to like The Shining and It and stuff like that, that's an idea that's been explored a lot in horror. But yeah, if I had to pick a name to put with that idea, it would be Stephen King, just because it's so innate in a lot of his more supernatural horror that he does. And Leo isn't a top citizen, he's not a great guy, but he's getting kind of a bad deal here because he's tied up and brain damaged from the abuse he's been taking from this guy. So, I mean, put him in prison, you know, do what you gotta do. I mean, he was involved in a, you know, young girl getting killed and another young girl being traumatized forever, but I don't know. I don't think he should be like tortured like this. I don't know. I still feel bad for him, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So then we're at the practice for the beauty pageant, and all the women of Twin Peaks are there except for Norma. I think Norma and the log lady are the only two that aren't like main female characters in the pageant. It's a really funny bit here. The choreographer's kind of a short, like, weaselly guy, but he's really pervy and like weird with the dancers, and they're all just kind of like, what's wrong with this guy? It's Norma and the two other judges that are there, and there's this guy that walks by in front of them, like in between you and them, and he's got this deer like on his like crotch area, and I don't know if like, I don't know, it's really weird, and it's like a llama moment. There's a llama moment in I believe it's season 1 where Coop and Truman are at a veterinarian's hospital investigating the minor bird, and there's a llama that comes across the screen, and the llama and Coop have a moment where they just look at each other, and it's that kind of moment because it is funny, but it's also just like weird because it's like, why is he like humping the deer across the room? I don't know. So it's Dougie, Norma, and Dick Tremaine, and they're the 3 that are kind of going over the details of the pageant. I think they're the 3 judges. And then Cooper is in the Great Northern, and Annie shows up and expresses her nervousness about the pageant. And then Cooper's like, it's all good. And then, yeah, this is where Coop and Annie do the nasty, so it's pretty crazy. It's crazy because it's like, she says she has 6 hours to do a speech, and it's like, okay, let's do it. Like, I don't know. Seems like they could have waited a little bit longer for that. But Dr. Jacoby, Big Ed, Norma, Nadine, and Mike are having a bit of an intervention. And Dr. Jacoby is kind of mediating, and Big Ed tells Nadine that he and Norma are going to get married. And then Hawk happens upon Major Briggs walking out of the woods. Catherine Martell and Wyndham Earle now both have a key in their own way, and they're both waiting or looking for a lock or a door to unlock. This is where Donna tries to ask her mother about Ben Horn. Yeah, so this is where Cooper finds that 4 and H are astrological signs from a hint that was found by Andy. And then Major Briggs says, fear and love open the doors, talking about, I'm assuming, the door to the Black Lodge or the other dimension. The only weird part about this here is, like, why haven't they taken Briggs to the hospital yet? Because he literally walked out of the woods. He's all, like, beaten up. I don't know. It just feels very strange. And it feels like they keep him there for, like, a day at least, maybe 2 days. I don't know. Oh, yeah. So then Andrew, Catherine, and Pete are discussing the key in the little box. And this is where Andy is trying to tell Cooper something. And Cooper and Truman leave, finding out that Wyndham Earle's been listening to them through a bonsai plant. So then, it's really weird. The pageant starts, and the choreographer guy, the little guy, he's like all over the log lady. And the log lady's just like, what are you doing, dude? So it's weird that you're weirding out the log lady. Audrey nails her speech. She does really good here. And Sherilyn Fenn, actually, I think, is one of the better actresses in the show. And she is really great in these last few episodes of season 2. So Donna, this is like one of the many moments that kind of just gets me irritated with Donna. She starts to ask Ben Horn about what, is going on with her and her parents and all that. And he resists and is like, hey, look, let's do this like as a group, let's all talk about it like adults. And she's like, no, tell me now. And Ben Horn starts to tell her, and then she runs away and I'm just like, you're not gonna wait to hear the truth? Like, you're assuming a lot of things right now. It's kind of interesting too, because we get 2 key situations, and we also get 2 dad situations because of the whole thing with Donna and Ben Horn trying to figure out what's going on there. And then we have Lucy deciding whether or not she's going to make Dick or Andy her child's real father, I guess. So Andy's still looking for Cooper at the end of the episode, even after Lucy declares Andy the father. And Annie is announced as the winner. And then we have the lights go all out, and then we have this really cool like strobing scene, and then it's just like everyone scattering, evacuating the building, people running all over everywhere, and the lights are strobing, so you're just getting images of what's happening. You're not getting the full view of it. And then Wyndham Earle takes Annie, and Andy finally gets to Cooper and tells him that the drawing they've been looking at is a map. And then that's the finale of the episode. So now we're on to episode 22, very end of season 2. Lucy and Andy are at the sheriff's department, and they kiss and they share an I love you. It's a really wholesome moment. You're glad they're together by the end of this. Cooper and Truman are staring at the map, and then they just kind of like go through a stream of consciousness type thing where they're looking at it and just saying things that come to mind, and Coop's like, giant, little man, fire. And then this is where Pete comes in, and he says Grand Theft Auto, and just the way he says it is really funny, and I wish that like someone would match that up with the GTA trailer. That would be really funny. And then this is where Pete says that he thinks the log lady stole his truck, and Coop's like, the log lady did not steal your truck. The log lady will be here in exactly 1 minute. Pete says 12 rainbow trout, because he's like, damn, I had all those in the back of the truck and now they're gone, they're going to get rotten or whatever. And Truman remembers 12 sycamores. And then Hawk says that this is Glastonbury Grove, and it's also the place where they found the missing diary pages out of Laura's diary. So then Hawk answers the knock at the door, and it's the log lady. She brought oil, and Pete is still very suspect of her. He's very like suspicious of her, even after Coops told him like, hey look, it wasn't her. And Annie is some kind of, oh, and it's really funny, Wyndham Earl repeats it and he says 12 rainbow trout. And then it's really interesting because after Wyndham Earl having remarked about fear attracting the evil spirits, he tells Annie, I like the fear I'm feeling from you. So creepy. So yeah, and then it's really weird. Once Wyndham Earl gets Annie in the circle of sycamores, she's in some kind of trance and she can't move or react or something. It's like her consciousness just shuts down. And Nadine snaps out of it, so to speak. And it's really powerful because it shows, this scene in particular shows what perception can and always does do to real people and real relationships. And just how different people look at life in different ways, and they think their relationship with someone is one thing when it's not, or think that life is going a certain way and it's not. So it's all your outlook, and this scene is a really big indicator of that to me. Ben Horn and Donna are at the Hayward house discussing more because Ben Horn is there. And Doc Hayward comes home, and then Sylvia Horn shows up, and this is where Doc Hayward punches Ben Horn like right in his face. And then Andrew sees the key that he, Catherine, and Pete have agreed to keep in like a neutral space, and he switches out for a fake key, but then Pete sees it. So then Cooper and Truman are stalking the woods. Cooper stops and says, Harry, I have to go on alone. And he says it in a very like monotone and like deeper tone than he usually speaks. And then I think right here Cooper knows that because he loves Annie and Truman doesn't, that Truman might not be allowed in, or Truman might be hurt trying to get into the Black Lodge. So he's like, you wait behind. I think that's what that means. Like Major Briggs said, love and fear open the doors. So it has to be something out of fear or love. And then this is where we get the Red Room. And like the Red Room in its full glory, because we've seen it in dreams, we've seen it in little flashes, little blurbs here and there. But this is like, to me, when I think of the Red Room, I think of the end of season 2. It's the best stuff in the whole season, in my opinion. And yeah, the guy singing, I don't know his name. I should have looked it up. I'll put it here. The singer's name the singer in this episode in the Red Room is fantastic. His voice is extravagant and amazing. Oh yeah, so then Truman sat waiting for Cooper for 10 hours overnight. So then Andy comes to see how he's doing, and he's like, hey, do you want some coffee? Do you want some lunch? Do you want anything? And Truman's like, yeah. But you can tell Truman is very focused on what's going on and trying to figure out what is going on with Cooper. And it's really sad because, I mean, the only thing Truman has left really is, other than his people at the sheriff's department in Twin Peaks, is Cooper. Like, they've become very close friends through this whole experience. So him having lost Josie and now, you know, feeling like he's losing Cooper is very traumatic, I'm sure. So this is where Audrey goes to the bank and chains herself to the main vault. And then the bank explodes. And I'm assuming we are to assume that Audrey dies here, but I'm not 100% sure, because we do see her again in the return, but she doesn't really interact with any main characters, so I don't know. There's a lot of I don't knows, and especially in this episode because we're wrapping up the second season. So Sarah and Dr. Jacoby meet Major Briggs and Mrs. Briggs at the Double R Diner. And this is where Sarah gets her like weird demon voice and says, "I'm in the Black Lodge with Dale Cooper. I'm waiting for you." And I want to say that's probably Judy or maybe even Bob speaking through Sarah and telling Major Briggs that they know what's up. And then this is where we have the arm tell Coop that when you see me again, it won't be me, which is crazy because of how that pays off in the return. And it's really interesting too. Here we get the line explaining that the red room is the waiting room. And we get the famous, "I'll see you again in 25 years. And then, yeah, so here I actually have a correction to make from earlier. Tommy J was saying that the room service guy is the giant, and I was like, I don't think that's right. But going back and watching it again, yes, the room service guy who acts all weird is pretty much a real-life, earthly counterpart to the giant. So, sorry about that, Tommy. You were right about that. I apologize. The arm rubs his hands together, creating the sound heard when Josie is taken into the dresser, and in the return, like I was mentioning, where Ben Horn and his assistant hear that ringing noise in the corner of their office in the Great Northern. So then, yeah, here we get Maddie Ferguson, Laura Palmer's cousin, and it's really hard to tell, is that really her, or is that a tulpa? Is that just a demon screwing with Cooper? Who knows? Wyndham Earle's face appears over Laura's when she is screaming at Cooper. So there's a really interesting bit where it's almost like Wyndham Earle is trying to taunt Cooper. So maybe he is the one posing as all of these different people. I don't know. And then Cooper is bleeding again, like he was at the beginning of the season. And there's a lot of blood. He's got like footprints of blood behind him. So it's like he's been stabbed again. And this is where Wyndham Earle pretty much poses that if Cooper gives Wyndham Earle his soul, that he will let Annie go into the world, free. And Bob shows up and literally takes Wyndham Earle's soul and says he can't ask for your soul, so I'll take his. And pretty much just shows you that he's like the king of this realm. Like he knows how the rules work. You don't. Stop trying to act like you do. And yeah, this is actually where I got a really interesting idea that the evil Cooper runs out from the curtains, and he kind of like comes forth and is ushered through in a way that reminded me of childbirth for some reason. So I'm wondering if Judy's womb is the red room, is the waiting room, because like if you think about it, gestation, waiting is, could be a similar concept, I guess. I just got the idea that Judy is pretty much the mother of Mike and Bob. So it would make sense that she gave birth to them, you know what I mean? And then she gives birth to the tulpas that they make, so. Oh yeah, so there's this really great chase sequence where they have a double playing either Cooper or Cooper's tulpa, and he just kind of chases them through the red room, and they go through all these curtains, and this is really awkward running, but it looks really cool against this backdrop, so it's fine. And then that fucking finale is absolutely bonkers. It's one of the most powerful and gut-wrenching finales in any television show I've ever watched. It's an insane cliffhanger, and the quote, "I need to brush my teeth," is forever tainted. I can't ever say that now without thinking of Evil Cooper and all that good stuff, so but yeah, it's been a wild ride. We're halfway through Twin Peaks, you guys, so I really appreciate everyone hanging on and letting me know what you think and all, you know, all that. Next week we are on to Fire Walk With Me, and we're just going to stick with Fire Walk With Me. We're not going to do any of the return till the 4th week. So, yeah. And I'm going to be splitting up our Fire Walk With Me review into 3 parts, just so it's a little easier to watch and all that. So, but yeah, thanks again. If you guys could please go check out our Instagram and our Twitter and give us a follow and a like and a comment. And if you could please share this video with anyone that enjoys Twin Peaks. Tell them about our SeptemPeaks program. Please stay tuned. In October, we'll be doing 10 to 12 horror movies for the Halloween season. And then in November, I'm going to be taking a break, but I'm still going to be on Instagram and Twitter. And I'll be probably just going back to every few weeks doing a review. So, but yeah, thanks again, guys. Really appreciate it. And I will see you soon.